Welcome to Mr. R's art class. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thumbs, subs, and ring that bell. So in this video here, I'm going to show you how to take your name and make it look a little bit more realistic, more three-dimensional using two-point perspective. So in the past, we've done something similar to this that only uses one vanishing point and looking at the letters from just the front view. In this drawing, in this assignment, we're going to look at the letters of our name, but from a corner edge. It's still going to be three-dimensional. It's still going to look realistic, but this time we have two vanishing points here instead of just one. And we're going to be looking at the corner and the edge of these letters, the top view of these letters, instead of just the front view that we've done in the past when we just did a one-point perspective. So again, we're challenging ourselves, trying to look at some of these letters from a different perspective, a different point of view, and let's go ahead and get started. What you're going to do first is you're going to go ahead and take your ruler, and you can put that to the top of the piece of paper, and you can actually just trace the width of this ruler. So the top of my ruler is lined up with the top of my piece of paper, and I'm just going to trace the width of this ruler here. So just like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick two different points towards the edge of this piece of paper. So one point over here on the right hand side, close to the edge but not all the way to the edge. So close to the edge but not all the way to the edge here. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick somewhere towards the left hand side here, so not exactly down the center of this piece of paper, somewhere towards the left side, and you're just going to draw a line, a vertical line. So maybe create almost an even amount of space between that line, under the bottom of that line that you just drew and the top to this vanishing point here. So you're going to have a horizon line, two vanishing points. You're going to have a horizon line, and this line that you just drew, is going to maybe have an even amount of space on top of it and an even amount of space on the bottom of it. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and grab your ruler. You're going to connect the top of this vertical line and the bottom of this vertical line to both vanishing points here. So connecting the top of this line to the right vanishing point right now. And I'm going to try to draw a little bit darker for you so you can see it on the camera. And then the bottom of this vertical line to the right vanishing point. Okay, you're going to do the same thing to this second vanishing point over here. And again, you're going to draw a little bit lighter than how I am, just in case I make a mistake. I'm going to draw a little bit darker just so you can see here on the camera. Right? So you should have something that looks like a triangle here. So what you need to do now is you need to determine how wide these letters are going to be. I'm going to make my first letter about 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches is right here on my ruler. 1.5 inches is right there. 0 is going to be lined up with that vertical line. 0 is going to be lined up with that vertical line there. And 1.5 inches is lined up with this diagonal line. So I'm going to make a mark there. And try to draw a nice straight vertical line there. What you could do is you would go on the top of that same line, make a mark at 1.5 inches. So you would do the same thing here on the left hand side. So you could actually line up your 1.5 inches at this vertical line that you started with, right at the edge at the corner here. And you could slide your ruler up, and then somewhere where your 0 is at, you can make a mark, and then again try to make a nice straight vertical line there. And so this vertical line is actually going to determine the depth of these letters, so the depth. And what you're going to do is at the top of this vertical line that you drew on the left hand side of this corner, you're going to line it up with the vanishing point on the right hand side of your piece of paper. So the line that we just drew to the left side of this corner, we're going to find the top of that vertical line, line up our ruler with the vanishing point on the right hand side of our paper, and again we're trying to determine the depth of these letters. How far back do these letters actually go? So it should look something like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this vertical line in half. So trying to figure out half of this line here. Mine is about 1.25 inches. You could just kind of eyeball that there. So that's going to be the center. And we're going to take that center and connect that to the vanishing point on the right hand side as well. So again, this is the center of this original vertical line that we started with. So the center, somewhere near the center. line it up with the vanishing point on the right hand side, and then draw a line. So again, you should be drawing a lot lighter than I am. I'm drawing a little bit darker so you can actually see it here on the camera. And so we need to figure out what is going to be the width of our next letter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out Mr. R in these letters here, but we need to figure out if this is going to be the M, if this is going to be the box for the M, we need to figure out what size is this box for the R. Okay, so the way we do that is that we need to pass through the center point here from this corner. So I need to line up my ruler, pass through that center point. So ruler's lined up with the bottom corner, this corner here, pass through the center, and then this next line over here is going to be where our next letter is going to start. And we would just draw lines straight down. Try and draw lines straight down. Okay, so that would be the width of our next letter. So you would keep doing that same thing, and that'll help you determine what the width of your next letter is going to be. And so you could connect those marks. And you're going to keep repeating that same process depending on how many letters that you have. So you would do the same thing with this line here. We need to start from this corner. Start from this corner of this beginning of the second letter, pass through the center, and then you'll have a line at the top of this mark here. So passing through the center, your ruler needs to pass through the center, pass through that corner, and then make a mark on the top. So start at the bottom, pass through the center, make a mark on the top. And again, this mark on the top is telling you where the end of this third letter is going to be. All right, so draw a vertical line straight down. So if you measure these, so this is about 1.5 inches. This is almost 1.25 inches. This is 1 inch. They're getting smaller by 1/4 inch every single time we create the next letter. So if you're doing this correctly, this first one should be, so if you're doing this correctly and they get smaller by 1/4 inch each letter, this first one should have been 1/4. This first one should have been 1.5 inches. This next one should be about 1.25 inches. This next one should be about 1 inch. This one should be about 3/4. So it'd be about 3/4. So they're getting smaller and smaller as you move further towards this vanishing point on the top right. So this first letter is going to be an M. And so these letters should be getting smaller and smaller as you move towards the right. So the tops of these letters, so if I connected the top of this M to this vanishing point over here, the tops of those other letters should also do that. So maybe you should draw your first letter here, maybe connect a mark from the top of that first letter and draw it to the vanishing point. Maybe do the same thing with the bottom. So with some of these letters, they would actually go all the way to the bottom. So this M would go all the way to the bottom. With this R, we drew a stick letter here, but you can actually create another bottom part of this R. Connect that bottom part of the inside of the R to the vanishing point. And because I have 2 letter R's back to back, and because I have 2 of those R's back to back, I'm going to pass through that second R, and I drew that line so that I know what the width of this inside of the R is going to look like. So I'm going to go over this with Sharpie real quick so you can see the letters and the parts of the letters that I'm going to keep. right? So you can see where it says Mr. Arm, and you would connect these bottom parts of these letters to this second vanishing point over here. So we have a couple of those areas that we would need to do for some of these letters here. So I would go back, connect the bottom of some of these letters to the left vanishing point. Right, because we're creating some depth. Same thing with the bottom of these letters here. Same thing with this over here. And then we could go ahead and erase some of these areas. And you would also connect the ends of these letters to your left vanishing point. So connecting the edge of this letter M to that vanishing point on the left-hand side. And you could stop at the end of this line here. You don't have to go all the way to the back to the edge of this letter R. Connected to your left vanishing point. Same thing with this edge of this letter R. And then you would try to shade this in here. If your light source is coming from the front of these letters, then you have to figure out where would there be value, where would there be shading, where would there be shadow, where would there be reflective light, highlight. So if the light's hitting the front of these letters, maybe all of these letters would be white. Maybe your light source is coming from the back over here. Maybe these letters would be just completely dark. And it'd be a lot darker inside of these letters because there's no light source hitting them at all. So you have to figure out what are these different letters and where is the value going to be for these different letters here. So you can finish going over it with Sharpie. So you just go over the edges of these letters here. And there you go, there's a rough draft of a 2-point perspective drawing. So pretty similar to the way we did our name when we used just a 1-point perspective. But again, we're looking at these letters from a corner. So this is kind of the most important part here is this first letter. The first corner edge of this first letter is the most important. That's where we start out from. And that kind of helps us kind of determine the rest of these different letters, whether that's the depth of these letters or the width of these letters. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And feel free to watch any of the other related videos.